led by Councilwoman Hartley.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, love you. Thank you for this day and for this time set aside for business, Father. Thank you also. I think about the privilege that we have and the freedom that we celebrate in our country. And thank you now that we can come and ask for wisdom. I do pray for wisdom for our leaders and for our mayor and for the business at hand. May your will be accomplished. But I also think about our country, and our country is in desperate need. And I think we all can agree with that. And I pray, God, that you would do a mighty work in our country, and Father, that we could even see great things. So we think about our safety. We think about the wisdom that's needed for our leadership. And God, would you do a mighty work in this great land? I'm so thankful to be American, thankful to be here tonight. And I pray that you would bless, and I ask in Jesus' precious name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Did they find her home? Yeah, don't know why. I thought she did a good job.
Okay, we will now move on to our agenda order approval. Are there any items that the council would like change from our published agenda? And if not, can we get a motion to approve?
Let's move the closed session up to now.
just for fun.
No?
No.
Okay. Motion to approve. The agenda is written.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we will start with council business first.
I want to thank this young man and that young man for just
Pointing at you, Tom.
Tom, don't look behind you. What a wonderful event that was Saturday, and it was all put together by these two. I encourage everyone to take a drive down Sage Drive, just because it's remarkable, the transformation.
It has less sage.
It does. There was a lot of it there.
We appreciate the people who came to help, and really appreciate Tom Jett and his loan of the equipment. He went out and bought some brooms and clippers right on the spot while we were at it. And the part we were able to get done looks much better. So we thank the community for that.
Yeah.
2 20-yard dumpsters full to the brim.
Danny, is it too soon for people to be planning on September 23rd, or do you think we're okay with that? Downtown. Okay. Anyway, I give a standing ovation to Councilman Rowley, and
Thank you for your help as well.
and I'm sure you'll talk about our chief.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, then I
I noticed our bill to the Washington County Solid Waste went from $1,600 to $3,000 this time around. What happened? Anybody
Do you
know?
want to talk about that when we get to bills?
Okay, I don't, because I want to also say, do we get an accounting of how much the aluminum weighs that they haul away? Do they give us a report? I guess we'll talk about that in billing too. Okay, because it sort of disrupts the whole flow of that approval business during the billing time. And I thought
We can do it now if it would make you feel better.
I'll feel fine as long as Ryan stays around and answers all those questions. Thank you.
Sorry, Ryan, don't get to get out of this. Perfect. Yes.
I have two things. So this year, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife has taken back over the management of the Utah prairie dog in Southern Utah. And what was it, 2.5 years ago, Judge Benson ruled that the state could start managing those, and they've done a fantastic job for the 2.5 years they've done that. And they've proven that prairie dogs and people can coexist, and the dogs can continue to flourish and do well. And they've done really good. But I was pretty worried at first when they overturned that decision. But I attended a meeting Monday morning, and then also yesterday, and they gave us a report on the prairie dog situation. And even though it's going to cost developers some money, I think that it's going to be positive, and they're actually working to try to delist the prairie dog eventually, which is a good thing. But the basically the gist of it, the HCP, the 1998 HCP, which allowed about 70 prairie dogs of take. If developers wanted to develop land, they could allot 70 prairie dogs per year, which was really difficult for the last few years before the decision. They're actually, and that decision is going to be in effect and for the rest of this year, which we have about 61 prairie dogs left of the 70. And then the county commission had a special meeting yesterday where they divvied up some of those. What they give, Paul? How many they?
Up to 9, but there was maybe 3 that would not be necessary.
Right, and so they feel like that's going to be okay. They're working on a new plan, which is a general conservation plan, which will move from numbers of dogs to acreage, and they are hoping they can get that GCP. The state of Utah's helping the federal government enact and write that, which is a good thing. So if you have a piece of property you want to develop and there's prairie dogs on it, basically you'll have to pay, I think it was for a half an acre, it was $250. For an acre, it was $500. And then like for over that, it went up from there. And, but it didn't matter if you had one prairie dog or 20 on your lot, they would take care of them. And, so that general conservation plan, hopefully they'll get it in effect by the end of the year. If not, if it's into next year, they're hoping they get it done before April because those 70 permits would run out and it would affect the developers and builders in the county. So I feel better about it, even though people don't want to add that extra cost. I think it's a positive thing, and they're working towards the state of Jessica and who is it? Ken? Is it Ken Bunnell? Ken Bunnell. Just done a great job, and so hopefully that works out. The other thing this morning,
let me just add that the Iron County Today mentioned they had a quote from Mr. Sheehan, who's now in the U.S., who used to be the Utah director and is now in the federal thing, saying that he likes the idea of cooperation rather than litigation.
And we had, before even the ruling went over, one of the head people from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife out here meeting with us. They toured the airport. They toured different areas in town. And then I met with them for a while about the prairie dogs and issues and all of that. So we're working with, and we were, even before the ruling came down, figuring out a way to try to get the dogs delisted.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, you're good. You're good.
So,
that's great.
Yes.
The other thing, we met this morning at the BLM office. We had about 6 of the BLM folks. We had a representative from the Division of National Resources and a couple engineers and Paul Monroe and myself. And we went out, and Reed Erickson from the county. We went out to the diversion structure and looking at furthering the options of building a lake out there. We're looking at probably a 25-acre lake. One of the problems we have in our valley is when we have these big storms, we have this high water in Coal Creek, and it's very dirty. It carries a lot of debris, and when that happens, nobody wants it. It's just the farmers hurry and shut their head gates, and nobody wants it, and it just goes into Quitchupah and gets wasted. And so we're looking at building a lake down there below our diversion structure. It's really exciting. It's building momentum. The BLM has offered to do the NEPA assessments, the EA assessment, and work with us with that. We've got some other partners we're looking at to bring into this for funding sources. And so we're moving forward. It was a very positive meeting. We have a new, can't remember his title, with the BLM, new field director, whatever. He's the boss over this area. Paul Gibbs, great guy. And what's up?
Which would give us a place for waterfowl and give us additional capacity for our lazy river storage.
So the heavy flows would go into this lake. It would drop the sediment. We would take some of that water down to our lazy river to recharge with it, and the rest would be there for bird habitat, for a lot of different people that wanted to go out and boat on this lake with some small watercraft and different things. So there's a lot of parties that would benefit. It could be a really neat thing. It would have to be dredged, probably every couple of years because of the high sediment that would flow into it. But we're working through that, doing some preliminary studies and moving forward. So.
Right. Thank you. All right. Are there any other items from the council?
I just had a question about when we had I'm forgetting their name, Gudmundsons come in. Tyler, did you find out if there was a board of appeals that we're supposed to have?
Well, there is a appeals board, but it doesn't, what it applies to is where a permit is not given.
Oh,
So if we're saying, no, we're not going to give you one, then they can appeal that.
okay.
And it's kind of an ad hoc panel. The city would just put it together kind of on a case-by-case basis.
Okay.
Okay. If there is nothing else, then we will move on. And this will get to why all of our firefighters are here. So, as you know, I hope you know, we are celebrating the 100th anniversary of the fire department with the open house that will be Saturday. And I'll let Phillips actually give details on that once we're done. Oh, no, you can do it right now. Yeah, you can come right now.
So the open house, Mike Phillips, the open house will be Saturday from 10 to 2 at the fire station on 291 North, 800 West. That's where the open house will be. Come down and see us.
So in recognition of the 100th anniversary, we have a proclamation for the Cedar City Fire Department. And it says, whereas the Cedar City Fire Department was formed in August 1917, and whereas over the following 10 decades, the members of the Cedar City Fire Department have bravely protected the lives and property of citizens of our great community, often at great personal sacrifice. And whereas members of the Cedar City Fire Department have strived diligently to increase their expertise and professionalism by constant training involving significant investors in their time and resources. And whereas Cedar City firefighters stand ready to aid the people of Cedar City and our surrounding communities 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and have performed their duty with excellence over the last 100 years. And whereas Cedar City firefighters are highly trained, specialized workers who contribute their excellent skills for public good and often for no pay. And whereas Cedar City wishes to recognize the efforts of our brave firefighters over the last century while commemorating this notable anniversary. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Miley L. Wilson, Mayor of Cedar City, do hereby acknowledge and extol the Cedar City Fire Department for their diligence, trustworthiness, and value. And it is signed today. And so if members of the fire department want to come up and have a picture and get your proclamation, which really means come up. That was like not enough.
Hey, let me take pictures with you.
Dave's the only original member.
You guys want this? I so don't have to be in your picture.
Come on over, guys.
Yeah, you have to come. You want me in your picture? Come on this side. You have to switch it on it. That's the other.
Get together.
Should we give these guys some rabbit ears? Should we give these guys some rabbit ears?
Yeah. This would be a photo bomber. Hey, Darren.
You want to take one? Let me click this down. Is that in the way?
There you go.
It was nice and cheap, Phil.
Me today that Greg was going out there.
Beautiful day for it. It was fun. It was fun. Our normal hit.
So thank you to the men and women of our fire department for everything they do. That was one part. And now to the award that was mentioned about Chief Adams. So, and I know you love being the spotlight. You're welcome. So this past weekend, Chief Adams was awarded the Crisis Intervention Team's Police Chief of the Year Award for 2017 for all of his work in law enforcement. He's done more for this community as far as mental health treatment and really working on the mental side of everything that our officers go through. And so thank you on behalf of our community, our residents, and I know the officers appreciate everything you do for them. So congratulations on your award too. Yes. And with that, we'll move on to staff comments, and we'll start with Jeremy.
Good evening, council, staff. Jeremy Valgartson representing the Employee Advisory Committee tonight. I'd like to present to you the Employee of the Month for August. Troy Golding. He was going to try and make it, but I don't see him here. But Troy he's part of our fleet department. He's under Corey's supervision. He was nominated by Officer Robinson from the police department. And here's what Officer Robbins said. During recent training to the firearm range, my vehicle sustained 2 flat tires from rough mine tailings used to improve the road to the range. Although clearly, after hours, a phone call was placed to Troy Golding for help. Troy willingly responded, and I not only remedied the 2 flat tires of my vehicle had suffered, but also temporarily plugged the tires suffered by another officer so he too could drive his patrol vehicle home. This is a great example of someone willing to help outside the scope of his regular duties and regular work hours. So on behalf of the Employee Advisory Committee, I'd like to thank Troy for his hard work. And it sounds like the real Employee of the Month needs to be the person that slows the police department down on those roads. But
You didn't have Marchand out there practicing again, did you? Maybe that's where the flats came from.
so if you get a chance, get a hold of Troy and thank him for his dedication.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Brad.
Sounds like we ought to roll over those rocks.
Brad Abrams, Cedar City Economic Development Coordinator. If we can pull up the website, you can see the new website. I'm just here to tell you that we have a new website. And I had some numbers I was going over on our analytics that I thought I'd throw into this. Over the last year, we've had 298,000 unique visitors. Our desktop use is 57%, and our mobile use is increasing at 43%. So this makes the Cedar City website a key tool to engage with our citizenry, and we'll continue to require regular updates and changes with many contributors from all departments. I think every single department has somebody that contributes to this content management system. And so it's become a living document that's used for our citizens. We're working towards, these are the items we addressed with this rebuild. We're working towards meeting ADA compliance according to Section 508, where that's including alt tags, abbreviations for screen readers, and no abbreviations for screen readers, and fixed misspellings, descriptions, redirects, and broken links. In addition to this rebuild, we also held a 2-day training with Civic Plus to assist those responsible in each department. And the training was to train them on how to use Civic Plus, which is our content management system. And then finally, the new rebuild will go live at 1 p.m. tomorrow on August 24th. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. And this one's just a lot cleaner, easier to use. So it will be.
Yes,
exciting.
I'm reading about your invitation to watch the solar eclipse at the park.
Yes, there you go.
That didn't go very well, did it?
Well, details. One other thing that I forgot to mention. So a number of times, and they've done this, the Elks Lodge has held the horseshoe tournament. They have come to do the single event permit again for the horseshoe tournament with alcohol. And where we don't have a meeting next week. By the way, we don't have a meeting next week. Make sure, Tom, you're going to have to find something else to do. It's fifth Wednesday. So we don't have a meeting next week. So the date of their tournament that they're wanting would be, we wouldn't have time to have a work meeting and an action meeting. We kind of have two options. We could either ratify the application at our next work meeting, or we could have a special work meeting or special action meeting. Well, yeah, action meeting.
Combined with the work meeting.
Yes. So it would be the same night, just right after that.
Yeah.
Let's do
Let's
that.
do that.
Okay, perfect.
Makes sense.
All right. Are there any other staff comments? I will jump back. Oh, I'm kind of all over the place. Okay, then we will move to our public agenda with our public comment portion, and we will start with the Age Out Loud presentation with Janelle.
Hi, I'm Janelle Brown. I'm here representing the Cedar City Hospital. I'm the older adults advocate there. And so this year we're putting our first ever older adults month that we're going to focus on older adults throughout our community. I'm using this, Mayor Wilson suggested I use this meeting as an opportunity to advertise and get this out there. So I handed you the flyer that will be going around town. On one side, you'll see that starts with Cedar City Hospital. This talks about throughout the month of September, we really hope our community will focus on older adults, whether it be their neighbors or within their whatever groups they're involved in. So there's some ideas for ways you can help. At the bottom, you'll see we're also doing an older adults items drive. This is in conjunction with 5 counties for people who are on their waiting list and have a lot of needs and they don't have access until 5 counties can get to them. So these are items such as pull-ups, briefs, blankets, socks. There's a few examples there, but I have at the bottom to contact me and people can have more ideas if they need. So those items can be taken to the hospital, to the aquatic center, as well as to 5 counties. At the aquatic center and at the hospital, we'll have a tree that has pieces of paper that also have items with my information on the back so people can grab, kind of like the angel tree. And then they'll just bring the items back to me. And then on the other side, also that month, we're putting together an Age Out Loud event. This is the part where it's like the older adults health fair, where as they walk along the walking trail, there's going to be different education provided, like dementia, physical therapy, delirium, fall prevention, a lot of different things that apply to our older adults as well as to their caregivers. So it's an opportunity to get education as well as figure out what resources we have in Cedar City that could help relieve some of the burden for our older adults as well as their caregivers. So, and then the last thing, I'm not sure even in this room if anybody has a story about an older adult that they would like to share. We're going to have some posters that have stories about older adults within our community along the walking trail as well. So if you have any, please email me or call me, and I would love to highlight them on a poster. So as people walk, they can get to know people within our community. And that's all. Thank you. You realize you just called them old, right?
Oh, did I say that?
Thank you, Janelle. Okay, we will now move on to our presentation on Cedar City Recreation Junior Thunderbird Program. We're not quite to public comment yet. Once we get through the 2 presentations, then we'll do it. Yeah.
So Jennifer Weaver, Cedar City Sports and Recreation Manager. And I'm just here tonight because we're very excited to give you guys a presentation on a project that Brian and I have been meeting with the Southern Utah University Athletics Department for the past several months and have come up with a partnership that we think is great and fabulous, and it's going to benefit our community and benefit the relationship we have with Southern Utah University and possibly benefit Southern Utah University Athletic Department. With me tonight, I have the Assistant Athletic Director, Nick Bartlett, and he is going to be doing a presentation. We also have with us the Athletic Director from Southern Utah University, Debbie Corum. So we're thankful that they could be here tonight, and I'm going to turn the time over to you.
All right, get the gadgets here. Mayor Wilson, City Council, we're excited to be here. Nick Bartlett, Assistant Athletic Director for Marketing over at SU Athletics. On behalf of Athletic Director Debbie Corum, we want to thank, first and foremost, Jen Weaver for all of her hard work with this partnership, and then Brian Dangerfield for all of his hard work as well. But without further ado, we will unveil the new branding and the new logo for the Cedar City Recreation Junior Thunderbirds program. And there's supposed to be music. I could provide it if you want, but
Olympic music going on.
yeah. And there it is in all of its glory. It is very dramatic, and the music was more dramatic. But there it was in all of its glory. And I'll go to this next slide here. The Junior Thunderbird program is something that we are very, very excited about. And basically, in a nutshell, what it is it's a partnership between SUU Athletics and the Cedar City Recreation Department in rebranding and renaming all of their youth sporting events or youth sporting leagues to the Junior Thunderbirds program. And there are a lot of benefits on both sides of this partnership, and we'll go over those now. The new logo and branding, of course, we worked with Jen and with Brian and with the city offices to come up with something that obviously kept Cedar City Recreation in the logo and in the partnership, as well as provide the Junior Thunderbirds and then the SU Athletics bird mark in it. And we felt like we came up with something that was really special and really exciting. Along with this, so they'll be printed on all the jerseys. You can see the branding is exciting. You can imagine, I don't know how many of you have young kids, but you can imagine your kids coming home with a jersey that has the SUU logo on it, calling themselves Junior Thunderbirds. It's very exciting for them to feel like they're a part of SU Athletics, and the athletes that we have there and the atmosphere that we have there. And so that's a very exciting part about this partnership. Each child will receive, each sport participant will receive a participation certificate that will name them as a Junior Thunderbird. It will be signed by their head coach. It'll be signed by the director of Cedar City Recreation, Brian Dangerfield, and then it'll be signed by the SUU head coach of the sport that they're participating in. And so every member will receive that. Ticket promotions. So throughout the year, between football, volleyball, basketball, gymnastics, all of the sports that we have going on over at SUU, and between the somewhat 60 home events that we have throughout the year, we'll do ticket promotions for the Junior Thunderbirds. So if they wear their jersey into certain games, they will get in for free or for some sort of discount. And so another exciting opportunity for them there. And we really feel like this is a great opportunity. Again, I want to thank Jen Weaver and Brian Dangerfield for working with us on this. We feel like this is something that can move forward for many years into the future. And we are very excited to move forward with this. Debbie, did you have anything to add? Did you want to add anything? I don't know. We can take questions as well, but.
I just want to say that
Please
this was
say your name, Debbie.
Yes, Debbie Corum, Interim Athletic Director, SUU. I just want to say that the reason why this was interesting to us is because we are obviously in the business of athletics, but we believe that an active lifestyle and creating an active lifestyle is a really great health and wellness message to send. And so there's no better time to start than with our youth. And so we're excited that we're going to support the youth programs here in Cedar City, and we hope that on our end that the children that grow up in this area will learn to love being active and will continue to stay active throughout their lifetime, and also that they will understand better the sacrifices and the work that our intercollegiate student athletes put into it, and that they'll help support us as well. So, any questions?
Sorry. Yeah, I wanted to touch on a couple other things as far as the interaction between the student athletes and the Junior Thunderbirds. We didn't touch on that. I did mean to do that, but we have the opportunity to merge the two groups, and as well as promoting a lifestyle of activity and wellness. That can lay the foundation with the Junior Thunderbirds. We also want that interaction with the athletes, in the SU athletic department. And so we'll be bringing the athletes out to their games as what we want to call celebrity coaches. They'll sit on the sidelines, they'll cheer the kids on, they'll high five them as they come off the field. And so, I hope this bridges a gap between the SU community and not only SU athletics, but SU in general. And so.
Very nice.
there any questions from the council?
Are these the jerseys? It's been a long time since I've been to youth activities, but are these the jerseys where you turned it inside out to be the color of the
Correct.
team?
Yeah, they'll be mostly red, white, reversible jerseys.
Red and white?
Mm-hmm.
It'll have the logo on both sides, or will it only be on one side?
Yeah, no, we should be printing on both sides. Yep.
Very nice.
Wonderful. Great partnership.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Okay. Is there anything you wanted to add or any of that, Jen? No? Okay, perfect. Great. Thank you so much. Okay, now we'll move to the other public comments. If there is anyone else that would like to address the council, now is your chance. So come on up, as long as you state your name. It's our rule.
Tom Comstock, Just Serve Specialist promoting the Gardens on the Hill. Per the request of the City Council, we've made progress on that project and identified a 501c3 that we could piggyback this project, integrate it. Thank you to Councilman Rowley and Councilman Isom. We have identified a dream team to assist us, from those that are in the excavation business to landscapers, horticulturists, garden clubs, all sorts of a team of about 6 to 8 experts in this, and also gain support from also the community in this endeavor. So we're anxious to move on with working with the city in creating the master plan to present with some expected cost, and then start fundraising for this project as the city determines that this land can be used for that purpose. So that's a quick update on that.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Tom.
Any questions? No.
So.
Onward and upward.
All right. If there anyone else that would like to address the council? All right. Then we will move on with our business agenda, with our public portion, the consent agenda, approval of minutes dated August 2nd and 9th, 2017, approval of bills dated August 21st, 2017, approval of the second amendment of the Academy at Cedar Mountains PUD Phase 1, approval of Diamond Z Arena lease agreement with SUU track and field team for temporary practice and storage space, approve the final plat for Third West PUD, approval of the interlocal fire agreement. Now
You know, Mayor, I'm just sitting here and I'm suddenly stricken with a question.
I can't imagine.
How did our bill go from $1,600 to $3,000 this month on the recycling?
And I got an answer for that question.
Here's Ryan.
Ryan Marshall, Public Works Director. As you guys probably can recall, about 2.5, 3 years ago, St. George went to curbside recycling. When they did that, Washington County, which is our provider that provides us with the binny service, recalculated all of their costs and their operational costs and spread it out to the remaining users of those binning programs. And at that point, they re-evaluated our costs. And if you guys remember, in last year's budget, you approved an increase to $40,000 in the solid waste. And in this year's, it got approved to $40,000 as well. But as we got into last year, they agreed to give us a year's time frame where they just kept us on the old cost and didn't implement that cost until the start of this fiscal year. So as of July, you can see that that's what the increase goes up to for our portion of the operational cost of that binning program.
Do they give you a tally of how much the aluminum cans weigh each time they take them down there?
They don't each time, but at the end of the year, they give me a list of how much tonnage of each of the commodities that they have collected from up here. And they used to give me a cost of what they would receive in those, but the last couple of years, they haven't received any cost. The company that's taking this stuff and disposing of it is just doing it. The cost barely covers their processing of it.
So the value of the aluminum cans is being consumed by the getting rid of paper that nobody wants.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. The commodities have gone really down, so they're not getting anything for any of it. So So that's why you see the increase now, is because as of July, it's kicked into that new price structure.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Motion to,
Can I just add one comment? Just on that document, I noticed there's a blank page 7 in the middle of that interlocal fire agreement that you might want to delete before we have it signed.
All right. Are there any other comments or questions related to the consent agenda?
motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That's his picture of the month. All right, we'll move to the action agenda. Approve study options for wastewater effluent.
Okay, so last week we gave you basically 3 options, and then Councilmember Cousins had a 4th that he pitched in there, and that's in the write-up for this week. All 3 of the options include saving some of the effluent for our sister jurisdictions, probably in proportion to what they put in, and working with them on some options on what they want to do with what comes out. All but one of the options included treating the water to Class 1 water. So real quick, there was an option to have an agricultural operation move out by the wastewater plant and stop pumping out of this end of the basin. There was an option to pump the water back to a storage basin outside of the Fiddlers area, use it for secondary irrigation on the north end of town. There was an option to pump the water back to this end of the valley, sell it to agriculture in the growing season, and then recharge it during the winter. And then the last option that Mr. Cousins had last week was to pump the wastewater back to a system of canyons just north of the Enoch Graben area. There's about 6 or so agricultural operations out there that could probably use all the water during the growing season. They have large pivots, and they could probably take all that water, store it in those canyons, or just recharge it during the winter and sell it during the growing season.
So that Mr. Rowley and Mr. Bittman and I drove out there last Thursday and looked at that, and that's and I'll just mention what I did last year. Cedar City has 3 wells out in that area, and so we pull as much water out of the aquifer out there as Enoch does. It's about equal, 50-50. And the thing that's attracted to me about that 4th option is it's on the way to Fiddlers. I mean, if we ended up doing the Fiddlers option someday, that would be, in my estimation, on the path to Fiddlers. So to me, it would seem very millions of dollars less expensive to try that option, and we could try it. If it didn't work, or we weren't happy, we could continue on to the Fiddler option or others. But we had a couple engineers from Corollo, Corey and Clint from Corollo Engineers, and then Kelly from Ensign Engineering out there. And as Paul mentioned, we could sell that water to the farmers out there in the growing season, and then either build a dam and store it in one of those canyons and use it, the next summer, or try to just recharge it right there in the Enoch Graben area, which is proven to recharge very well. And so that seems like, to me, low-hanging fruit that we could try, and we wouldn't be out anything if we did that. So.
It just strikes me that if we went that route, we could turn off our sand filter in the summer, because the farmers wouldn't need that. We wouldn't have to be running the pumps to operate that thing. Just let them put Class 2 water on their crops, and then in the winter, turn the filters on and put the Class 1 water into the storage or percolation.
So kind of with
Save some electricity.
this would be sending these options, getting a consultant that specializes in all of this, and having them look at these options, or if there's anything else that we haven't really thought about that we don't necessarily know exists.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we put Class 1 water is in the mix. I mean, it's intended with whatever those options.
We almost have to do it.
Yeah.
It almost needs to be part of it, and it's one of the least expensive things you can put into a plant because basically a concrete box full of sand.
And it's really to take,
It's electricity.
it's not so much for nitrates, it's for the E. coli and some of those things that they want you to remove. So
We would put out a RFP and screen some consulting engineers, select one. It would come back to the council to select an engineer.
do we have any idea what that would cost to do that?
Don't know about the cost yet. I do know that the water quality folks have some financing that we could look into using to pay for this.
You know, and Corollo, those Corollo engineers mentioned that to me, that there's probably funding out there that we could pay for that.
We're going to look
Yeah.
into those.
That'd be good.
Very nice.
We'd put in the RFP that if the consulting engineers had other creative ideas
Yeah.
to lay them down on paper. And
Well, and those guys out there, when they just came out, they mentioned several things that we had not thought of. So
And that's
it is within the realm of possibility.
kind of the whole thing, is see if there's something that people that do this every day.
And they said there's a big secondary or wastewater show in Chicago or somewhere that we ought to send maybe one of our guys to.
this fall in Chicago, you can go check out all the secondary wastewater effluent
or your boat.
equipment you
Go to the
want.
cops and get a vest before you head.
All right. So with this, can we get a motion to approve the study options and
I'll move to approve doing an RFP to have outside engineering firms evaluate our options and give us some suggestions.
Second.
all right, all in favor?
Aye. Thank you.
All right,
Thank
item
you.
number 8, canvas votes from the August 15th, 2017 primary election. This was Renan.
Is this when Renan gets to talk?
He's speaking microphone.
For a reason, maybe. So the results of the primary election are Scott Phillips, 2,351 votes. Bruce Hughes, 1,236. Ron Adams, 1,319. Scott Johnson, 347. Rich Gillette, 610. Andrew McAfee, 437.
All right, are there any questions?
Motion to approve.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye. Motion to go into closed session for property negotiations.
Second?
All right, we have to have a roll call vote. We'll start with Councilwoman Hartley.
Aye.
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 Thank you.
Okay. That was fairly painless.
Final count.
Oh.
Is that what that, is that what you said?
Really?
Did she just do it?
Ah.
Oh, yeah, no problem. I'm glad that works out.
What's this?
I'm gonna leave at 5 o'clock.
Because of what you told me, that's what I just told him. That burn your head.
5 p.m.
Crap.
Yeah. Be good, but yeah. Thank you for.
Boss over there. Let Holly go.
Here it is. No, he didn't.
The guy sitting over there, him, fired her.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. No, see, here's the result.
Get ready for
Gee.
Having you been preparing all afternoon.
That kind of bothered me when it was like, I wasn't listening to the, I was close enough to order.
You're counting on that income.
Okay. That's too bad.
She told me a couple of weeks ago that some lady complained to him that she didn't know how to write. And I hope that's not the reason why they didn't.
Well, I think we did a great job.
Yeah.
Chief Phillips.